for his team. He could do anything. So he was so flexible, and he's brought that flavor to EDG. EDG, they wanted something different in the mid lane after they had Yu and his wave clear, and now they have an initiator. They have everything they need in pawn.
Well, Dade wants his Jacker back, so we'll see who's going to take his first game. We're into champ select for game one. M3 on the left, our blue team. EDG over on the right, our red side. Janna and Kassadin, the first two bans there for Master 3, and Rek'Sai will be the first one for EDG.
And it's worth noting, of course, we are still on patch 4.21. If you've watched EULCS play earlier in the day here today, we have not moved to patch 5.2, so no base skates, no Nidalee jungle either. That was a big thing in the EULCS earlier. And plenty of Kassadin picks, of course, in China.
Yeah, not today. He actually did get banned. And Jarvan, the last ban there for M3 with Azir being another very strong pick. We've started seeing more in the LPL. It's going to get the second ban there for EDG.
I guess one of the recurring stories I think we're going to come up this week is the Cassiopeia, though. Of course, this is the first patch where Cassiopeia's passive was changed. Really have easy access to that 500 stacks, that extra Rabadon's death cap. So much Cassiopeia in the last couple of weeks of the LPL. I have to think it's going to start hitting the ban list, just because it has so much 1v1 power in that mid lane.
Yeah, Lissandra, the last ban there for EDG. So we'll see what M3 want to go for. Maybe it is the Cassiopeia. Of course, Dade, almost a famous recipient of a Cassiopeia by Wayless in their match against LGD earlier in the LPL. So Cassiopeia has seen a little bit of play starting to pick up speed. And as you mentioned, just a little bit smoother now.
But when we look at the ban list here, one champion jumps out. One champion has not been banned here. It's that Gnar. So I'd be surprised not to see that the pick up for Lupa right there. Lupa, I have to say, even compared to his compatriot Dade, has really struggled at the start of the LPL this season. He tried some of those off-ball picks with the Annie, but no, they're not going to listen to me. They're going to go straight to the LeBlanc.
Yeah, they're going to give Dade a very powerful champion and just go straight for a mage there in the mid lane. I mean, LeBlanc's a great champion. Dade, decent on that champion as well. It's not a Dade champion that we think of specifically, but there's been a rule in the LPL in the last 3 weeks. EDG have looked very strong, and the rule has always been, do not give Koro Gnar.
And Koro actually did struggle, though, in the last series we saw him out. He was getting 1v1 killed in lane, something we did not expect against Colo and in that series against Starhorn Royal Club. Still a magnificent Gnar player, so for that to be available here, that's the first sign of panic I'd have as an M3 fan, just because Koro's Gnar has been outstanding in the LPL this season.
Yeah, Edward Gaming snap it up immediately. Corki, Gnar, their first two picks, so a very strong start there. Deft getting an AD carry of choice there as well. And who said it, Koro, his laning has been strong, but maybe a little on and off versus certain opponents, but his team fighting on Gnar especially has been fantastic. He was really the breakout player on that champion for me, so M3 probably have a plan. Lupa played Annie last time, but instead we're going to get Lee Sin and Thresh as their next two picks.
I mean, you can see the pick flavor coming out of this M3 comp already here. We've got the picks from the chains from LeBlanc, the wonderful skirmishing power of Lee Sin, and of course we're going to see plenty of roaming Thresh coming out here as well. The pick comps in there. But EDG, they've actually really surprised me, because we talked about how pawns allowed them to open up their styles. Last time we saw them out on the Rift against Starhorn Royal Cup, a lot of protect the comps. Protect the depth seemed to be the flavor right there. But with that early lock of Corki, you know, they're going to be focusing on their timings here. This is going to be all about the mid-game rotations from Deft on that Corki. And it's nice to see EDG have those gears, because they were always known in the Chinese scene about pulling games to late, much like the old World Elite team of years past, and winning in late-game team fights. And that's not what you get when you pick up a Corki and now a Nunu.
Yeah, Mako going to give them a bit more flavor on support as well, going for the engaged support of Leona with the Nunu there for clear level as well. We saw him play it last week. We'll see how he takes it into this comp especially as well. Looking through M3, going to consider some of their options now as well. They've got 4 and 5 picks to make now, and we'll see what happens here. I do like the Threshold. Chinese Thresh Pub especially just seems really, really good.
Absolutely. Support's even known for their disengage. Have been picking it up and just excelling with that initiation, the amount of pick power. There's a reason why Thresh, even after all the nerfs, even as the meta changes, you always see Thresh right up the top there, being a contested pick right here. And I see your eyes raised right there.
Well, there's only a little difference happening now. We've got Tristana. That's not that unusual. Canny going to be taking the late game carry in. But Kennen is apparently Lupa's champion of choice against Gnar.
The double Yordle picks coming out right there. And Kennen is a champion I've been wanting to see come back in competitive play. I thought it would be someone like Flame, known for his 1v1 laning, bringing back the Kennen. But yeah, the Kennen top seems to be coming back here strong in this game.
And it's kind of interesting against a champion like Gnar. Very curious to hear your thoughts on that matchup when we get to it, Papa. But we've got one more pick for EDG to make as well. We'll see what they want to go for. And, you know, Pawn has been mixing it up quite a bit. He's been playing, got a pretty deep champion pool. But that is not what I expected to see for our first game. Lux is the last champion for Edward Gaming.
And that's two picks that really have the end of Season 2, early Season 3 flavor between the Kennen and now the Lux. So much wave clear available for that Lux. You can say that if Dade's ever able to get on top of her, the Lux will be assassinated, but you know, it's probably going to be quite a defensive build from the Lux, and then so much wave clear. it's an interesting choice. I think it's Pawn throwing a gambit right there. Maybe it's something we don't know. There's a bit of feeling in this matchup in the mid lane.
That's true.
So it's a really exciting one. One thing I'll say, though, I'll bring it up, the Clear Love Nunu. One of the reasons I like it is that we've harped on about how Clear Love's not a ganking jungler. He's challenged that this season. He has been more proactive. But what you can say about Nunu is he can go toe-to-toe with any of those skirmish junglers, whether it's Lee Sin, whether it's Rek'Sai, and go at least even because he has so much buff control. So while he doesn't have to be ganking lanes necessarily, he can disrupt ganking junglers. So he's almost going to function as a bit of a killjoy right here. He's going to be more about stopping Dreams from getting those successful ganks off rather than necessarily being proactive himself.
Yeah, it's sort of like the if I can't gank, no one can. But
absolutely. We'll
see what happens here is, no, never mind, I'm going to continue here. Not quite ready to get into it yet, but Nunu, interesting to me that we don't have the hyper carry flavor here coming out from EDG. Deft, of course, known for late game team fighting, but he's going to be taking Corki a bit more mid game focused here.
I mean, it's the one thing you can say is that although Blood Boil is most ideal on a hyper carry, most ideal on the Vaynes, on the Tristanas of the world, it still has its uses in positioning. So it's still going to help Lux maybe move around the battlefield a bit faster in the backline, get in position for that Lucian Singularity and their other abilities. The Gnar, of course, being able to move in quickly on Gnar and getting strong positioning there might be a factor. There's still mobility targets. There's always mobility targets on a team to be realistic. So while it doesn't have the expert synergy, while you won't see maybe the attack speed and movement speed being used on the same target each time, each selfish stat will be useful.
Yeah, we do have a short pause in the game as well, so should be getting into it anytime soon, but just sorting out some issues there over on the players' end over for the LPL. I think for me, the Lux pick, again, super interesting. Haven't seen that in a while, especially just in the mid lane, straight up against a player like Dade. I kind of get a little bit of the Orianna flavor against Assassins. That shield does help you, and Lux's W is a pretty good shield.
I mean, the closest analogy I'll have for how I expect Lux to be played this game is Xerath. It's going to be all about staying back at 1,000 range, clearing waves, and then getting into the late game with that CDR, with that AP. It's a situation where, okay, Dade will probably boss around the laning phase. He'll probably be standing in front of his keeps, doing his best to deny, and Pawn might come out of laning phase maybe 20 CS behind at worst. But if he doesn't die, in a late game team fight, she has so much AoE, does Lux, that if you can negate the pick potential in the mid game of a LeBlanc, even if she does get those AP items, you have to have so many variables for a pick comp to be important in the late game. You need to take over those objectives. You need to have the aggressive warding down. There's a lot of onus on M3 to be really proactive here and use that mid-game LeBlanc, or they'll struggle in the late game with so much AoE and even the defensive utility coming out of the Lux shield.
And you mentioned Xerath. It does also have great AoE, and that was open. That's been a very popular pick in the LPL. So is it Pawn maybe wanting to take a bit more of a team fight-oriented champion here?
I mean, it could be. It does have that utility flavor right here, and there's so much mid-game available, but I think it's time to load into the game.
Yeah, well, let's get right into this first game. All right, well, welcome onto the Rift to M3 versus EDG in their first game here today. And our first game as well here for the LPL. Week 4 has officially begun here. We've got some pretty nice ones. Candy actually could be in trouble, does get stunned up a bit, takes some poke damage, but skills up the rocket jump and gets out of there.
All right, we'll see if we see some really aggressive posturing. It does look like it.
Yep, just some spreading out for now. Looks like both teams just sort of making sure they get the defenses up, have those jungle entrances covered here. Some trinket wards going down as well. It looks like we might not have too much action in the early stages.
Yeah, I just expect early aggression from M3 just because you want Nunu's jungle pathing to be very predictable. You want to get in there, get the wards and know which buff that Nunu started on because you know that champion's going to be all about getting the early side stone, getting in there, stealing away whatever buffs he can and getting the aggressive wards in. So Clear Love's play this game is pretty predictable and having that early information about his route can only be helpful from an M3 perspective.
Yeah, certainly interested to see how they slot the Nunu into sort of a mid-game focused combo for EDG. In fact, this is maybe one of the first times this split we've seen them play something that's got a bit more aggression to it.
I mean, they kind of mix up their play quite a lot, EDG. We have seen Deft on this Corki maybe once or twice. Of course, we remember those Civic games. We remember those hypercarry games like the Jinx games. They come to the front just because they're a little bit different from the standard of the LPL. But he's still very smart at knowing those rotations. You can expect him at 19, 18 minutes to have that Trinity Force Sorceress Shoes and group. And you look down this M3 lineup, they've got decent engage with Kennen, but when it comes to a siege, they're just going to be eating Lux poke and they're going to be taking down structures. So it's going to be all about EDG getting through this early laning phase and then the grouping phase will really decide who wins.
Yeah, we talked about some of the mix-ups here in the laning. We've actually got a pretty hard freeze on the top lane we saw earlier there. So EDG have actually opted in for a lane swap now.
It's interesting to see them opt in for a lane swap. I guess it's just about coming into lane in a 2v2 situation with the items. There's been a lot of lane swaps in the LPL, and as the weeks have progressed, we saw a lot of fast pushing in week 1 of the LPL, so it wasn't about denying the CS of the enemy top laner. It was just about trying to get those early structures, but much more of a lane freeze in the weeks subsequent.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's maybe is Koro a bit scared of the cannon there as well. I mean, that's a pretty bold pick in general into a champion as strong as Nara lane. So we'll see how it develops, but the carries are going to get their farm here. M3's Tristana certainly there for Candy. Going to feel pretty good about that. You can see Dream and Looper just farming the jungle up together. Looper actually still in level 1.
And the other thing about opting into these lane swaps is that there's more freedom for the supports to roam and get some important picks. And we've got both Leona and Thresh here. So once they get their boots on, or even before that, as we've seen at 5-6 minutes, big ganks in the mid lane, there's a lot of potential for skirmishes very early in these games with this lane swap.
Yeah, we'll have to see what develops here as Looper and Dream going to maybe get a bit aggressive here towards the blue side of EDG's jungle, but there's nothing to really take. Maybe a dive actually can see some pings coming down to the bottom. Koro's going to check it immediately, finds Looper, and now Cannon going to move in. Good stun there from Looper as well. Koro will take quite a bit of damage, pops the health pot, but he could be in trouble here. If that wave push up, he might just get dove.
And we can see the flashing health bar on Dade here as well. He's so low in the mid lane. One thing we didn't even consider is with the range of spells right here, every time Dade looks to trade, and of course, in the early levels, as a LeBlanc, you're wanting to trade with your distortion most of the time. He's just eating Illusion Singularity every time, so he's eating a lot of free damage in lane. He's managed to sustain up with both his pots, but no more sustain available. 4 minutes into a laning phase as a mid laner is a hard spot to be in.
Yeah, Pawn up on CS now is also playing the early stages of this lane really well. Koro, by the way, unbelievably adorable teleport there to get out of that situation. That was very well read, although he won't have that for a few minutes more. Clear Love now going to do a bit of counter jungling way over on the left-hand side of the map here. Take out M3's Gromp. In fact, Love City might have found him out, but Clear Love level 4 just going to run away with Blood Boil.
Already very tanky, you could see with the amount of bars he had in his health there. No real chance of him being picked off. Yeah, really struggling in the mid lane here is Dade. He's going to have to do a lot of work, and you have to think that Pawn, maybe this is just a solo queue pick that he's workshopped and said, all right, there's a lot of LeBlancs. Assassins are very popular in solo queue. I got to come up with something different. And it's a skill matchup for sure. We always remembered Lux versus Fizz was a skill matchup many moons ago, where if Fizz could get ahead and not eat a lot of harass early in lane, you give it to Fizz's advantage. But this is much the same flavor here. The onus is on Dade to get that. To get through the early levels, get level 5, 3 points in distortion, then his harass will start to stick. But before that, the extra range of Lux is really punishing him.
Yes, so Pawn off to a good start. And LeBlanc is not really a Dade champion either. We definitely looked at this matchup as one of the keys to watch. And Dade's been doing this a little bit in the LPL, where he just makes some unconventional picks, not for the meta, but for Dade as a player.
It's one of those situations where we have to kind of redefine what a Dade champion is. I mean, he's played LeBlanc, I believe, 3 times, maybe 4 in the LPL already. So we're going to have to start redefining his champion pool, because we're not seeing the Flash Ghost Ziggs. We're not seeing some of his strong assassin picks. And when he has played Zed, he's actually looked a bit uncomfortable on that champion as the meta starts to phase away some of those assassin picks right here. So I think he's trying to find his feet both in China, both in the LPL, and his champion pool as well. And sometimes it comes up good. We actually saw a very impressive Azir performance from Dade, I believe it was last week. But there's still a lot of fine-tuning to do, and it seems like Pawn's one step ahead of the meta, at least at this point.
Yeah, Clear though started up the Dragon. 2 points to consume already. Now Koro and Pawn will rotate in to help him out with this one. You can see the shield there from Lux. Going to help Clear Love up, and he's pretty tanky on this Yeti. Smite's available as well, and that'll be a very early Dragon done by EDG.
Yeah, the mid-game comp is really playing smartly here. They've already picked up the first objective, of course, with Nunu. It's very easy to pick up the first Dragon right here. The second and third, that's probably when the contests will start to come in from M3. Of course, Looper doesn't even have level 6 available, still level 3 because of this early lane swap. But once you have Kennen, he has a bit of the same flavor as other manaless top lane friend Rumble, in that he can really contest those mid-game objectives very well with that ultimate.
Yeah, and the Dragon control has been stellar for EDG, as we've seen them in the LPL. And the Nunu pick, maybe even that's what they like it for as well. I think that's multiple times now that Clear Love's actually gone in and, just taken an early Dragon with his team. And when the third Dragon is the one that everyone really wants to contest, if you accelerate the first one, it just makes that journey so much easier. But Dream could be in trouble, does flash out of the way. Yeah,
Dream's had to flash there right away. It was a very good move from EDG. And their map rotations, again, this has been the cornerstone of their play recently. We've seen they already have the Sightstone up for Clear Love before even boots here. It's straight the machete into the Sightstone here. So you know the flavor of EDG right here. They're going to be all about getting that early vision right in, holding down Dreams, and taking advantage of their mid-game spike.
Dev could be in trouble. Love City and Looper getting aggressive. Corky very low. The hook does land just at the edge, but that's a good stun onto Looper. He doesn't have ulti yet. Actually, Dev low, but there will be the kill coming out for Thresh. Looper now running out of the way, but he's running and stunning as he moves back here. Love City trying to keep Mako off as well, and Leona really wants to kill this cannon, but Looper, that's a good stun. Needs the play. Does follow up. Can he get it with the Eclipse? Will do so, and now the supports are going to have a battle. No one in sight, but Dade might be rotating through a good hook to buy a little bit more time. No mana left on either two as well. Dade's going to get landed in. Mako nowhere to go. Will look to go down here, and Dade's going to get himself a kill.
Love CD, the much maligned bot lane of M3, came up really big there. It was very smart play from the Thresh. Held the death sentence until Deft had to commit to using the Valkyrie right there. You could see Deft holding onto that cooldown. We might even see a replay to illustrate it. So loading up the replay right here. So Deft obviously overextends here, but this is all a mind game. He's trying to hold on to the Valkyrie as long as possible. But wonderful death sentence comes in, locks down Deft, and then you have this awkward situation where Mako just doesn't have any cooldowns available. On my screen, I saw it was about 4 seconds at this point. So obviously very tanky is that Leona, able to eventually close the distance right here. Will eventually get the kill on Looper. It was actually a nice little AoE right there with the E, but Love CD so aware of his surroundings. The death sentence comes in. Finally, LeBlanc's able to make the rotation first. Of course, it is on the blue side of the map right here, so slightly shorter distance. Picks up the kill. Very impressive play from Love CD. And again, another Thresh player steps up.
And the other thing as well, Looper, you know, getting low but not low enough for Pawn to snipe him with the ulti, did have it ready to go. And yeah, we talked about it already. Thresh in this region's fairly strong and a great play by Love CD. With the Ignite though as well, actually, a bit more of aggressive summoners for both these supports actually. So seeing a bit of change. And speaking of change, the mid lane, this is one of the things that this patch has started to see a bit more of. Chalice of Harmony is back, Papa Smithy.
We were speaking about it yesterday during an OPO cast, but remember that was where we were talking about patch 5.2. This is back on patch 4.21, so we would expect to see Morello Nomicon on both the mid laners here. The Lux picking up the magic resist from the Athenes, understandable in a assassin matchup, but it's interesting to see also the defensive sort of flavor coming out from Dade. I wouldn't expect that right here, but I guess after that early laning phase, picking up all that poke, trying to get minions, trying to get harass, he might feel he has to do it.
Yeah, Dade maybe just feels he's a bit too short range to carefully pick up CS, so we'll see what he can get done now as well. Looper now in a 1v2 situation, it seems like, as we've got Deft and Mako back in towards the top. Clear Love also running up there as well. Maybe they're going to look for a push out onto that turret. Dade will get some CS under there as well. Pawn, again, another great binding. There's just a bit of harass with the ulti, and you can see why Pawn's had such a good time early on.
Yeah, I mean, Dade is just eating this harass right here. Has 67 magic resist, so actually did opt into the flat magic resist blues, which is already a fairly defensive adaptation for a LeBlanc. Must have anticipated this tough laning phase. And it's really paying for it so far here. Pawn's just not looking for kills. He's just trying to harass Dade out of lane because he knows that if Dade can't get ahead in lane, he doesn't get those picks in the mid game. What is a LeBlanc going to do if she's significantly far behind in items to a Lux?
Yeah, sick binding as well. Catching Dade out of distortion as we return to the bottom lane. Candy now going to farm things up. 86 to 86 for the AD carries. And that's good news for the Triss that needs to get those items rolling. And
you look at the gold here, it's all evened up. Of course, we can talk about the value of that early dragon. It's always a bit indecipherable at 10 minutes into the game, but you can easily say EDG is ahead just because of that buff right here. But otherwise, very standard. It's going to be interesting to see these two teams battle out in the late game. We've already said, all right, late game, probably going to be an M3 side, but the late game never comes if we're talking about a third, a fourth, going on a fifth dragon for EDG.
Yeah, and speaking of the third dragon especially, Deft will likely have his Trinity Force done by then, so EDG really have a lot of time to move. This second dragon should be quite crucial for them as well, as they want to, you know, keep the stranglehold on the buff. They've shown such good dragon control throughout the entirety of the LPL, and they're going to look to continue that here. Dade's still farming up behind Pawn here on CS, but Pawn's, as you said, he's not looking for kills. He's just clearing the lane and then getting back out.
So again, if you look at the gold here, you can be forgiven for saying, all right, M3's ahead in kills. That early objective, while it's nice for EDG, it's not a huge deal, although we might actually see a fight here.
Yeah,
Mako in trouble.
Be in trouble. Actually, stun comes out. Dream kicked Mako in the face there, but no one there to really follow up. Looper with his ult, he couldn't get him for damage, and that's about that for the trade in the top lane.
But I mean, the big difference again, and we keep talking about this when the top teams play. We talk about it a lot when LGD plays. It's on case here when EDG play. With those early Sightstones in, as we see that zoning ultimate coming out from Mako. With the Sightstones in so early from the jungler, double Sightstone already available on EDG, so many aggressive wards down. This Lee Sin, the very strong early skirmishing jungler, his pathing is so predictable because we know exactly when he's going to come out of the jungle here. And Nunu has no bearing, doesn't have to go and gank any lanes right here. He's just ensuring that EDG has such a massive vision advantage. And we see not one pink ward on the map here from M3. You have to say that's quite poor for 12 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I think so. And EDG's vision controls looked very strong in this match and just in general in the LPL. And I like what you mentioned in the draft earlier, Papa, where you kind of said that, Nunu, not much of a ganker, but he's pretty good at anti-ganking, which is kind of what Clearlove's doing here. I
mean, it's completely stifled this Lee Sin right here. Every time we do see Lee Sin on our map, he's basically getting caught in a 2v3 or 3v2, having to make evasive maneuvers, had to use his flash very early. It's just come back right here, whereas Nunu, Clearlove's able to run the game without even having to be a strong ganking jungler. He's shown that that's capable, but that's not his standard pace. He's usually known for this more reserved approach in the laning phase, and it's paying off for him.
Well, Dream actually going to aggro the Dragon, and we'll start it up here. So, bit of a misrotation potentially by EDG. They had the timer after the first one, but M3 might get themselves the first Dragon, a very nice clipper. So we'll see Dream going to kind of solo it a little here. Has to be a bit careful on Lee Sin, but he does have the Warrior in chains, doing quite a lot of damage actually to this Dragon. The tower went down in the bot as Candy was able to just get that done, and Dream's going to pick up the Dragon basically for free. Pong going to get gripped in the mid there as well. There's actually very low. Pong gets a first kill onto LeBlanc, and now Love CD is in a whole host of trouble. Teleport coming onto the Lantern for M3 zone. The binding goes wide for the first time in the match. Now Looper going to dive in with the ulti, popping there. The slicing Maelstrom trying to stun them up. Pong gets stunned at the very end. He's got no mana left, but Clearlove going to get that next kill. Dream's going to come in. Kick Lux in the face for the next kill. Now Love CD could be in trouble, and as the dust settles, a 3-for-1 trade all across the map.
Yeah, massive trade there for EDG. They did lose the Dragon during that rotation, but they'll be happy with the exit kills right there. They're going to be, I think, 2 kills for 1 at that point. The 3-for-1 trade is in the advantage of EDG. They're also going to take this objective right here. So while there was a global objective swap, the top turret for the bot, this seals the cake. You have to say EDG, they'll take this rotation.
Yeah, they'll take the tower there as well. Def powering up on that Corki, getting pretty close to that Trinity Force. Infinity Edge is done though for Candy, so the good news for MT was definitely that they were able to just take away that Dragon from maybe a bit of sloppy rotations from EDG. And Candy, he's had free farm here. He's got a very fast IE.
But giving 6% AP and AD, while that's nice for MT, while that helps the LeBlanc burst harder, for example, they also gave away access to their buffs. So we're going to see a replay right here. Of course, it was the soloing of the Dragon, but then the huge fight right here. Very important that Dade falls first right here. Pawn's actually still fairly healthy, already has his Athene's Unholy Grail right here. It's a long, extended fight coming out right here. So the Looper comes in, of course, only has the armor right there, but we're going to actually see the fight continue.
Yeah, Pawn's in trouble. There's fighting everywhere. Lux trying to get away, but can't, and Dada gets that next kill. Koro now chasing in. He's actually, Lee Sin will follow in with the Q. The slow coming in, a good kick moving in, but it's not quite enough. Dream going to get low there to Deft, and does go down to Koro, actually. The ult will just miss there for Mako as well, but a good boomerang for Koro to slow on too. Now Love City going to get snowballed up, and there's nowhere for him to go, and Mako going to get that next kill. So another trade here, 2-for-1 now, EDG.
And while Koro showed up late there and had the Nara available, it wasn't put to big use. What was much more important, Trinity Force Corki shows up outside of vision, and that's been the consistent story. That's what EDG have picked up, taking out this last arrow to turret. Why they win that trade so hard is that now we watch Clearlove and Maker on the screen. You could be forgiven for swapping those names with the like of Dandy and Marta, because they're going to get in there, they're going to get these aggressive wards down, and now they have so much space across the map to sneak in, ward up basically every important crevice. And how is a pick comp ever going to get a pick in this mid game?
Yeah, and we've kind of talked a lot about it, but the first 15.5 minutes of this game have felt completely in EDG's control, mainly to, as you said it, the vision control that they've been afforded. Def down the bottom, looking to get another tower. The Trinity Force just ripping the structure to pieces, and M3 going to have no answer here. Def even going to let some minions get denied to the turret. That's how confident he is.
And if you want to start talking about damage output, if you look down Candy, that's after one combo coming out of the Lux. It was basically 75% of his health instantly burnt down in the mid lane here. So it's only going to get scarier from that Lux.
It really is here, and Pawn has had a very strong landing phase, now converting into a pretty nice roam here as well. The bottom tower did go down, by the way, so Def able to clean that one up by getting those caster creeps in there. Pawn level 10, looking for the second rank of the ulti. Got a blue buff now as well. Pawn's feeling very strong on a very unconventional pick here, Lux.
Lux is doing well, and if we go back to our pre-game chat, if we talk about kind of the paths we'd expect at 16 minutes, you have to think EDG have really played to their comp strengths right here. After 16 minutes, to have 3 outer turrets down, to have at least one of the Dragons, they, of course, competing for complete Dragon Supremacy, but it's 1-1 overall in Dragons right here. They're meeting their strengths. M3, they're not super behind. They're a few thousand gold behind, which is what we'd expect with this late-game focus comp right here, but they're not going to be able to get those picks in the mid-game. And you have to worry for them just being stifled out of any objectives and being able to farm safely. If they could farm safely to 40 minutes, absolutely this might be M3's game. But all these aggressive wards are ensuring that they're going to have to fight for every Raptor camp, let alone any free lane farm.
Well, we'll see what they can do. It's not all bad news for M3, of course. We've got Candy on the way here. Avarice played with the IE done, so he's getting gold up. Pawn with the laser does come in and just chunks Candy back down to about a third health. Looper as well almost got his zombies up. You mentioned it is a little bit similar to Rumble. Doesn't need too many items to be very effective as long as it's positioned well for the ulti and team fights. But EDG, next Dragon coming up in a minute 50, and they just look so in control of this map.
We have a lot of questions about the cannon build. The Zhonya's makes a lot of sense just because much like Lissandra, he can be a frontliner, have a lot of space control, be very relevant in that way. What is his second item going to be? Is it going to be the Rylai's that we have seen previously, just so he has consistent CC on all the passives? Or is it going to be a more damage focus? We're not sure, and it'll be interesting to track this Kennen, because it might be a trend. I think there's a lot of potential for Kennen on this patch, but it's something untested in competitive, at least recently.
Yep, Candy just going to deny the back as well. Pawn on a very low cooldown ultimate, really irritating as Tristana.
Yeah, I mean, once you get close to 40% CDR on Lux, you have so much harass, so much wave clear, very, very strong as that champion. And you have to feel Candy's a bit unpracticed on dealing with the skill shots here. He's eaten a lot of bindings I'd expect to go wide on a competitive game.
I mean, actually, we have a fight. Corey going to bounce off with a Mega Knight now. Can he use the ulti? Good kick forward, but that's going to get two people not into the wall. But Corey binding 1v4 gets one kill. And actually, that's not a bad trade given the situation.
Not a bad trade when you look at the rotations on the other side of the map. Corky's pushing strong into the bottom lane. There's a lot of pressure coming out of Lux in the mid lane right here. Although a one-for-one trade's not ideal when you're over level and passing experience to your enemies, that's one time in this game where EDG did not have aggressive wards on the top side of the map right here. They finally let those wards fall down. So the correct play from Koro would have been to hang back just because he didn't have the insurance wards come out. But he'll take the one-for-one.
Yeah, Deft down the bottom, chunking out the bottom tower now. It's almost at 50% health as the caster creeps go to work as well. And he's spotting with the vision for EDG as well. I talked about it already. They love their dragon control, and so many of their early warding is all bottom right-hand side of that map.
And they're so on point with their timers. We talked about this concept of the mid-game in chat. When is the mid-game? It's when you look down at the items, see Trinity Force, Sorcerer's Shoes, finished any time before, let's say, 21 minutes on a Corki right here. He's ahead of the curve, is Deft, looking very, very strong, despite not picking up any kills. And this is EDG's chance to group and take objectives. And it might start now.
Dream does get ulted up there as well. The snowballs and the damage comes in, and Mako going to clean up that kill. And that should give EDG a pretty difficult to contest dragon for M3. Koro not even wandering down, does not quite have his teleport up yet. And the hook does land onto the dragon, actually, but dragon will stay in his pit for now, and EDG are going to work on it, pawn around the side as well, but M3 may be looking for a steal.
It's so easy to make smart map movements when you have complete vision of one side of the jungle.
Oh, Dade just got wrecked there. Beautiful binding plus the E there from Leona and the dragon for EDG.
And it's easy to say, all right, pawn, very good with the skill shots, but again, they have so many wards in that area. Everybody's movements on M3 are predictable, and it's so easy to rotate and take the maximum amount of objectives when you have that complete knowledge.
Yeah, and EDG, again, just looking in control, their vision's been great, their movement's been great, playing like the team we expect them to be and the team that we've seen in the first few weeks. So for a team that's looking to open up a big lead potentially in the standings for them, this is a great start to their LPL
Absolutely,
weekend.
this is one of the few games where the standings really reflect what we're expecting in terms of play right here. M3 are not a bottom team, they're in that middle pack. They're definitely in with a chance of making it to the top side of the tournament, but they're not in with a chance of winning it realistically as they've grouped, as they've shown so far, whereas EDG, next to OMG, by far the overperforming teams in the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, and the gold lead here for EDG, not too bad. Looking close to 4,000 gold pawn. It's going to clear up most of that way with his ulti, get on the rest there as well. Candy actually almost ate a light binding, but we'll be safe here. Tower still not down. Candy actually gets poked out there as well. Blue buff Lux here, pretty good with the wave clear.
Excellent with the wave clear. And I'm happy to see some pink wards in the inventory of M3. They've communicated that getting back in terms of the vision game here is important. We see 3 pink wards, 4 pink wards are now picked up. If they can start to get vision of their own side of the jungle up, move their green wards more aggressively to have at least an idea of what's coming from EDG, they can start to stifle this mid-game snowball that EDG have started.
Well, if we're going to look at the mid-game snowball, maybe have a pop towards the inventory of Deft as well. He's going to follow up the Trinity Force with a BF sword.
Yeah, this is what I'd love to see the Bloodthirster come out here. It might be the Infinity Edge if he really starts getting going in terms of kills.
Love CD is going to get caught out as well. Good damage coming in, but making now a little low. The rest of M3 with that Looper trying to find the stuns. Cora now tallied in as well, and Deft is doing good damage. That's a great double stun. Actually, Looper getting better towards the side as well. Candy will dive in there out onto Deft. Dade is low and looking to go down. Clearlove going to get that kill onto Looper. Dade low, still alive, but Candy gets caught by a binding. Ulti there from Clearlove. Does get the kill into Mako, but Pawn picks up Candy. 3-1 EDG.
The positioning difference between the two teams was massive right there. Actually, Candy had to rocket jump into the fight just to be able to do any damage. He was not in position to contest. Eventually leaves with just a Leona kill to his name. 4 deaths from M3. They might even think about Baron here.
Yeah, Baron is the caller in EDG, just making clear call after clear call. They know exactly where they want to be and what they want to. Right now, a very early Baron is going to get looked at here with the Nunu with quite a few points in the consume, I have to imagine. This is just going to be an easy Edward Gaming Baron.
It should absolutely be a free Baron right here. 3 points in consume, so able to really secure down from about 1,200 health with that smite. They pick up that objective, and EDG, they've played their game plan to a T right here. Vici Gamers should take some notes from just how decisive EDG can be in terms of getting aggressive wards down and picking up objectives. Vici definitely had that first point down. They've been wonderful on the war control mark, but they haven't always been able to take advantage of the vision they've been getting, whereas EDG, they're just being decisive at every turn.
Yeah, and the gold leads look good, but here's a replay.
So we see the replay right here. Lupa actually controls a lot of space right here. You see that Lux is completely zoned out, but he doesn't have the damage to burst down anyone, and Deft is free hitting. It's not till Candy uses his rocket jump aggressively right here. But I mean, look at this defensive troop. There's Pawn, Clearlove, and Deft all standing on top of each other. Clearlove, once again, his positioning in teamfights on that Nunu is immense, just buffing up his teammates, keeping people away from that locus of control. And man, when you have Deft and Pawn free hitting, you're going to win every fight.
Yeah, I think so too. And the Baron not on for EDG, going to look down towards the bottom side of the map. The items looking so good for them as well as Looper actually might have found... Oh, good steal there on the Krog. Looper will be denied, but Randyman's done for that. Now Locket's been finished there for Clearlove as well. Pawn's also done. He just snipes off the Lee Sin, getting picked off there by a Snowball and a Light Binding. And that's a Rabadon's Deathcap Lux done now.
Yeah, you're seeing the Deathcap damage come through from Pawn. Massive burst coming down when he hits all his abilities right there. The only criticism of Lux as an AP carry is, all right, you miss one of those abilities, your damage falls off immensely. But man, if you're lining all 3 of them up, people are deleted off the rift.
Yeah, they even have the sweet flavor combo of Leona Lux as well, so they can apply a lot of debuffs so they can trigger. There's a tower actually going down there for Deft, who did go the BT for that maximum pushing power. EDG know exactly how to win this game.
Yeah, Pawn did eat a death sentence, lose a lot of his health right there. Of course, has the utility defensive flavor, the shield, which actually kept him alive. Didn't have the heal available, didn't even have to flash right here. And M3, this was my worry. When you pick these comps into a comp that's all about getting that aggressive vision and rotating, there's so many times when you're a Tristan, you're like, oh, I've got my 2 items. I'm so close to that power spike. But then you're sitting in your base, clearing out the 1 minion wave that comes out, which of course pushes the minion wave out. Then you don't have any safe place to farm. There's wards at all their camps right here. There's no free jungle camps to pick up from M3. And if you're never going to get that 3rd item at decent power, and if you're a 4-item Corki against a 2-item Tristana, as has been the case in the LPL so far this season, late game never comes.
Yeah, the 2-item Triss, you know, looks good. It's where you start thinking, okay, I'm a little bit behind and maybe things can get going, but not this far behind. EDG are 8,000 gold ahead, almost doubling, more than doubling in kills there as well with 13-6 and 5-2 in turrets with the next dragon up, which will be EDG's 3rd in just under 50 seconds. So M3 have got a big hole to dig themselves out of now, and EDG just don't look like they want to relinquish control of this map.
And if we've learned anything from this 4 week of the LPL so far is that the dragon changes, all the changes about the stacking buffs on the dragon has meant that these mid-game comps do have a chance to win in the late game. They are able to get these buffs that let them push down, that let them actually capitalize on the advantage they picked for. You can't turtle out. If you're going to give away 5 dragons, you just can't turtle out with the power of the buffs you can get from that dragon.
Yeah, and the Baron is all even helping with the push. EDG got a little bit of structural damage done with their Baron buff, but not maybe as much as they would like. Koro, though, will return to the bottom lane. Looks like a War Monks will be coming up for him relatively shortly to accompany the Randuins and the Hex Drinker. And just kind of moving down as well. Nothing else major complete. It looks like Mako actually going to go quite tanky with that build. Actually has a lot of spare gold on support Leona. Obviously,
a lot of support scalings on Leona. Makes sense to pick up those resists and able to get that Glacial Shroud. Definitely overfarmed for Leona support at this point in the game. 3rd dragon comes in. The rotations are that much easier with the 5% movement speed right here. And M3, they're looking to minimize losses. Wow, so close to sniping away that blue buff. 31 HP on the blue buff after the ult came in.
And you know what? Pawn won't mind too much. His ult's going to be back in about 30 seconds now as well. He can just be very frugal. That Love City, though, will get caught up. Deft gets that first kill on Mako again, sniping with Leona Dream. That's the way you want to be. He does flash the ulti, though, and it'll be safe for now. But EDG with a free pick and a push down some turrets. Dade could also be in trouble. So Deft diving out under the turret will go to safety. And a bit reckless there for EDG, but Candy, oh, that's bad. Don't need a binding. Did do so. Gets chunked to about 60% health. And M3, The defense does come through, but it's a bit of a struggle. Looper now in trouble as well. Nowhere for him to go. Clearlove uses the ulti, and Koro gets the kill.
There's just no easy escape routes for M3 because everything is watered on their side of the jungle. They were so fortunate the pawn did not have a blue buff available. For once, that mana pool was depleted, didn't have his cooldowns up, so they couldn't keep the siege on. But they just keep losing it every turn.
Yeah, and EDG going to look to push the top side of the map as well with Deft and Mako. Koro in the mid lane making sure that wave gets pushed up as well. And all EDG really have to do from this point is just break one of these inhib turrets down.
And after that laning phase, I mean, Dade just hasn't been able to do anything on this LeBlanc. Still has the pick power, but has never been able to get the smart picks. And every time this AoE comes down, we see another person falling down here. The Lux AoE is wrecking the M3 comp.
That's so much damage there, and every pick EDG get converts so easily from Pawn's Luck. And the burst coming from Corki as well. There's the tier 2 down now as well. And Love City didn't stand a chance after getting tagged by the light binding.
No, I mean, when you don't see these champions like Lux for a while, you forget just how much AoE damage, when it all lines up, can come out from those champions right there. And Dade has to position so defensively. No picks coming out after the really early first 15 minutes of this game. It's just been 12 minutes of power from EDG's comp.
I mean, compositionally, we talk about M3 having kind of a pick-style comp here with maybe a bit of insurance on the Tristana. EDG have actually built themselves a really nice section of their comp as a pick comp. Lux, Leona, Corki, I guess, for the damage portion, has done wonders for Edward Gaming this game.
And they do have the pick part of their comp, but it's almost a luxury compared to just the sieging and pushing power. You see those mid-game champions, like the Corki, for example. How well executed has the Corki rotations been here? You never see Deft in lane with a Trinity Force. At that point, he's always up to the grouping stage of the game, and maybe that's why they opt into the trade of turrets early. Maybe that's why they go for the lane swaps, even with a Corki lane, because once you have the first rung of turrets down, what makes more sense than to group with a Trinity Force and start pushing down those other structures?
Absolutely, and EDG have gotten themselves to 10,000 gold ahead now, 6-2 in those turrets, taking down all but the inhibitor ones. Baron's back in 40 seconds if they want it. Dragon will be a few more minutes after that, but M3 are basically not allowed to leave their base now, and Deft is going to just chunk out this turret. He's got 3 items now, the BT plus the Last Whisper on top of his Trinity Force, and every turret shot just does an unbelievable amount of damage.
They're realistically only able to stay in their own jungle right here. They are able to move into the bot side, red side jungle. They do have some pinks down right there, but anywhere else on the map is completely off limits.
Mako, that's not the best hook. Will take a bit of damage, but Leona, again, has afforded herself some few luxury purchases with a bit more gold. Pawn getting chunked out as well. Looks like Dade might have had something to do with that with his ulti on cooldown. And they'll back off here. Going to respect the damage there from Dade now that he's finished his death cap.
Yeah, it is the one big item completion, the Void Staff advantage for the Lux right here. It just means so much AoE damage, and while there's still respectable pick potential from Dade, they need to keep getting this pink wave, and they need to keep advancing their vision line here, because right now it's maybe to their Raptors, but no further on the map.
We'll have to see. Baron is a possibility as well. You're going to look around, maybe try and find a pick. Looper split pushing again. Does have his teleport and his flash, but Deft and Clearlove going to rotate in. Blood Bowl's going to make this pretty hard for Looper to get away, and he's just going to get chunked out there. Clearlove gets a very easy kill for himself.
I mean, Blood Boil into the smite right there is about an 80% movement speed reduction, so not going anywhere. And the fights continue across the map.
Yeah, either land by Mako, but a bit of a misfire on the ulti, so good flash out there from, I think it was Dream. To make sure he stayed safe there, but Clearlove going to chase in with the snowball. Mako going to flash E in, block out onto Candy, who does rocket jump out, but Dream is going to eat all of the damage, and Deft takes him out. The box pop from Love City to try and zone them out, but Mako still running in there on that Leona. Love City is going to be forced to flash now as well, and EDG just chasing M3 down now.
Absolutely haranguing them out this topside jungle. What does that open up but their second Baron buff right there? Expect the Baron to be started right here. Still only the 3 points in the consume from Clearlove, but so much damage coming out from Deft. The hyper will help from Koro, but it looks like the contest is coming from M3.
Clearlove using his ulti, so EDG are committing pretty hard to this Baron. Pawn just going to eat Dade and wipe him off the map with the ulti, and another light binding lands. Every time it seems he just gets the kill, and that should give the Baron over to Edward Gaming.
And one of our favorite terms for champions, and in terms of the LPL, this has been space control. We talked about Nunu's absolute zero and the amount of space you control with that attack speed buff, with that movement speed debuff. We forget that Lux has so much space control. You put down that E, you control so much space with it then, and if a binding hits, you can confirm so much damage with that ultimate instantly.
Yeah, have to respect the range there, and Pawn really demonstrated that to Dade in their lane. 60 CS ahead now as this game is developed, and the gold lead is ridiculous, about 3,500 up for Lux there in the mid. Pawn has played this lane beautifully.
It's across the map though, Page Time. 13,500 is a massive gold advantage right here. Almost completely unlikely that we would not be able to see EDG finish out this game right here, but all M3 can really do, start to push out. They know that the pressure's a little bit less off with this Baron buff down, but once those Baroned up minions start pushing in, M3 just don't have many options right here. They don't have the items purchased to be able to take EDG in a fight.
Yeah, so M3 going to try and collect their farm as best they can. EDG being very patient again. Fourth Dragon up soon, so maybe they'll just force M3 back and try and take that and make sure they, finish the game in very comfortable manner. Def going aggressive there. Pawn going in, actually just kills Lupo with the ulti. Candy goes down as well as Def flashes in, and that might just be the game here for EDG.
Yeah, the flash in might confirm the complete misery that has been this game for M3 right here. EDG and Clearlove, especially on this Nunu, they play predictably, but look at the power they have.
Cora's gone in. That's the first next kill story onto Love City. Dream could be in trouble. Does get snowballed. No kick left for Lee Sin, so a double does come out for Deft. And now Dade looking to solo defend. He dives in for the damage. Just gets eaten. And Mako confirms the last kill for EDG. The base is broken now by EDG. First inhib's going to go down, and that might just be the game.
And while it may not be a pure support, the Deft comp, their 2 carries do so much damage, and they have 3 tanky members, especially this Leona with so many extra tanky items, can tank the turret with reckless abandon, and the damage from the backside, the artillery coming out from Corki and Lux is immeasurable.
Yeah, and there's another kill. Candy goes down to Pawns. Lux again. 7-2-9 on that champion. And we talked about it, the highlighted matchup here. That game 1 was all Pawn, Papa Smithy.
It was all Pawn and it was all EDG. Deft and Pawn, those 2 Korean carries, doing so much work for their team. It's why EDG is so feared. They have to be talked about in the top 5 teams in the world right here because they are amazing when on form.
Yeah, we have a replay as well from that last game coming up, so we'll jump into this and just see how well EDG controlled this game.
So it's only 2-1 in kills right here. This is very early in the game. We saw quite a muted laning phase, but we'll roll the clip right here. We start off, of course, with the death sentence coming from Love CD. They'd made some excellent rotations earlier, and we'd actually singled out Love CD for praise. He'd been smart. The teleports coming in from the back right. You know that Kennon's going to come in with his ultimate, but very high health values mean that no one dies this level 7 Cannon. Pawn's able to stay alive for a long time right. He's trying to zone out Dreams, but Dreams actually gets the really smart 1-on-1v1 kill. But unfortunately, the front line, Clearlove especially, tanking turret hits so easily at level 6, and that was kind of the flavor of the whole game. The front line, whether it was the Na, whether it was the Nunu, whether it was even the support Leona, who had that snowball Glacial Shroud, they're so tanky that there was no way for M3 to break through that front line.
Well, with that, we're going to leave it for a quick break here, but don't go anywhere. Game 2 between EDG and M3 is coming right up.